Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Darrell Owens back for another episode of 101. We are already on episode 5 here in season 7 of 101, and I'm super duper excited. You said, well, Darrell, you say that every week. That's because I am. I don't do these interviews. It's not like I'm doing these interviews all year long. I have a select segment of a select group of people that I bring in for 10 to 12 episodes of interviews before we get into the power rankings of the season. And now we're going with episode 5, episode 209 overall, and this is season 7. And then today with me, I have another one of my mentors, another guy that I have really got a chance to learn from over the last couple of years in the broadcast booth, and having a chance to just do games. I truly enjoy the games that we've had a chance to do for the Richmond Spiders women's basketball team the last couple of years. Hopefully I get another chance this year to get in the booth with this man, the myth, the legend, Craig Kocher, joining me today for episode 209 of 101. Everybody, I'm so glad you all are here with us. We get to learn about a great man today and where he started to where he is right now. With that being said, episode 209 of 101 starts now. One.
Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to 101 at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I got my man with me today, Craig Kocher, in the building. Craig, I hope I did well on the picture and on the cover art. I was trying to make sure I had you looking as cool as possible in there. I got my man right in the action. I couldn't help myself.
Very well done.
Well, once again, everybody, we're so glad to have Craig Kocher here. He is a professional sports broadcaster. He's the school chaplain for Richmond, for the Richmond University of Richmond. And so, Craig, once again, brother, we're so glad to have you here.
Darrell, thanks so much for having me. I've so enjoyed getting to know you in these recent years and getting to broadcast games with you as well. It's been a real delight for me. And so I'm happy to talk to you on the podcast today.
So glad. But, we're going to go ahead and get this bad boy started. Before we get all that going, we got to start off with our first segment, and that is the check-in. All right. So, Craig, in the check-in, we like to check in on you, your family, your friends. How is life right now for Craig Kocher?
Thanks for asking. Life's good for me, Darrell. The summer's a little bit slower with my work for the university because school isn't in session, and so it's just a little bit slower. I've got 2 girls, ages 13 and 10, and my wife and I have been able to travel with them a little bit this summer for a vacation at the beach, and I took one of them camping up in the mountains for a few days. I was able to play some pickleball today with some friends over at the University of Richmond courts, and exercise, we all know, is good for the body and the mind and the soul, and so it was good to play some pickleball today. And then before we got on, I was just reading with my youngest daughter. We're reading a book together, and I've really enjoyed that. So life's good. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks for asking. I hope life's good for you too.
Man, I can't complain. Always running, always busy. Just trying to stay out of trouble. That's the biggest thing. To try to stay out of trouble. Try to be a good role model here and there. That's all I ask. And Craig, how did you do in the pickleball game? Did that go well for you today? Did you win? Did you lose? How'd that go?
So the way we play it is pickleball is generally a doubles game, more than singles. So there are 4 of us who played, and we play 6 games. So everybody partners with everybody else twice.
Got you.
And I did fine. It was kind of a 500.
Okay, we'll take 500.
It was fine. But more importantly, one of the reasons I like pickleball is because it's both good exercise and it's a great social experience, because you get to do it with friends, and you get exercise as a part of it, and so you get to talk a little bit between each game. And so I did fine. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. Your passion of sports. I want to know, when you were 7, 8, 9 years old, how did Craig at that age fall in love with sports? What made you fall in love with sports? Who made you fall in love with sports?
Darrell, I grew up in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and that is, it's true blue basketball heaven. Basketball is just in the bloodstream of the whole culture. And so I grew up in that environment. My dad was really into sports. And so from an early age, he got my brother and I involved in playing basketball in the driveway, and we'd throw the football in the front yard, and we would play baseball during the springtime, and played quite a lot of soccer at that time. Growing up too, is a pretty popular sport for, as it still is, for kids. And it became a way, I think, for my dad and I to bond, for my dad and my brother and I to bond. My mom would always come to our games. She was very supportive too. And I think it just became a kind of a language of connection, something that we all enjoyed doing together. My friends, we enjoyed doing it together. And then for us, the big sport in Chapel Hill was college basketball. It was Carolina basketball. Yeah. And so we watched, this is before we got cable. Cable was a big deal when we finally got it. It was a big deal. But when we finally got it, when I was kind of in grade school, and then most of the games were on ESPN, and then we could watch just about all the games, I think that's when it really took off. And that's probably when my interest in broadcasting took off as well.
Yeah, see, and there you go. Say, with you saying that, I want you to kind of take us on a journey from the point where you knew broadcasting was going to be this. It's like, okay, this is the moment. The broadcasting is going to be my love, or one of my loves, I should say. And kind of take us on that journey to how you got from there to where you are right now in your career as a school chaplain, as a broadcaster.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. I feel really fortunate that in my work at the university, I get to do three things that I really care deeply about. I'm the chaplain of the university, which means I'm kind of the pastor to the campus, and I really care about that ministry and helping young people in their spiritual lives, and young people as they go through challenging things in their lives, and mentoring young people. I love that. I do some teaching at the university, and I've really always enjoyed teaching. And then this broadcasting thing. So the broadcasting thing was really my first love. In high school, I started interning at our local AM radio station. It was the station in Chapel Hill that carried all the Carolina sports, so basketball, women's basketball, football, baseball. And I started just as an intern in high school. Basically showed up and said, "Hey, what can I do?" And this is before certainly in the infancy of the internet. So, I was a board op, an overnight board op, and I'd go to town council meetings with a tape recorder.
Oh no!
Come back, and I'd pull cuts, and then my freshman year in college, I went to a small school in Ohio that had a really good broadcasting program called Otterbein College, now Otterbein University. And I got a lot of experience on the radio broadcasting games. So I got a lot of experience doing small college basketball, small college football, small college baseball, high school football, high school basketball, got a lot of experience. And then I transferred back to UNC in large part because I just kind of was the right place at the right time, just kind of lucked into it, had an opportunity to become the play-by-play voice for the UNC women's basketball program. And later it became also for the UNC baseball program. And I did this was all radio at the time, and did some pregame work for the football team and some halftime work for the men's basketball team. And it was just this incredible opportunity that I got at a very young age. I was 20 years old. Again, right place, right time. The person who was doing the games before me left. They needed somebody quickly. They needed somebody cheap, which was I think. And I had some experience at that point, and I loved it. I loved it. In fact, the first game I ever broadcast for the UNC women's basketball program was in way back in 1995. I'm dating myself now. This is 30 years ago. And it was in Richmond, Virginia, at the old Coliseum. There was a kind of one of those tournaments type things, preseason kind of tournaments, and UNC played Connecticut in Richmond. That was first game, and Connecticut won by 30. But and I loved it, and I did that for several years, and then Darrell, my life began to take a different shape. I began to think about, as young people do, what do I really want to do with my life? And I love sports, but I wasn't sure that I wanted to make sports broadcasting my life as much as I enjoyed it. And I was very active in my church growing up, and I began to think seriously about ministry as a part of my life. So I went to divinity school, and I went to Duke, which was really hard for a Tar Heel.
Yeah, I'm about to say. I was like, wait a minute, this is tough.
Yeah, that was really hard for a Tar Heel to do. But I went to divinity school, and while I was in divinity school, I continued with some of the broadcasting, but not at the same level as I had been. So I continued doing some games, some women's basketball games for Carolina, some baseball games for Carolina. But at that point, I was really focused on my theological studies, my ministerial preparation. And then once I finished divinity school, which was a 3-year program, so I've been broadcasting at that point for 7 years, and I loved it. But at that point, I moved to Davidson, North Carolina, and I had a position at a church in Davidson, and the broadcasting stuff just fell to the background. I was focused on other parts. I had recently gotten married and was in Davidson for a couple of years. Then I came back and I worked as one of the chaplains at Duke University. So that was my next job. And I love being at Duke. It was a great experience. But again, I wasn't doing the broadcasting stuff. I was still following ACC sports and Duke sports, Carolina sports, but I wasn't doing the broadcasting stuff. Then I came to the University of Richmond, and this was in 2009. So again, this is a while ago, 2009, as the chaplain for the university. And I feel so fortunate to be at Richmond. And I became a spider like that. I fell in love with the university. One of my first memories as a kid of the University of Richmond was watching the Spiders men's basketball team beat Syracuse in a big upset in the NCAA tournament. I knew about that great reputation of Richmond basketball. And as I showed up, Richmond football was very good too. But I was really focused on my pastoral work, my chaplaincy work, my teaching. And then a few years back, Bob Black, who I think maybe you've had on this program too.
Yes. All the way back in season 1. A long time ago.
Yeah, and of course, Bob is a legend in Richmond sports. He's has been broadcasting Richmond sports for 40 years. Well, he knew of my background. And as Richmond began to expand our offerings on ESPN Plus, women's basketball and baseball and all these sports on ESPN Plus, he asked me if I might want to do some games. Now, I hadn't done games in years, but he knew of that. And I thought, I'm at a point now where I think I would like to do that. It's not going to be my primary vocation, as they say, my career, but I loved it. I still love it, know. And I was at a point where I thought, I could do this kind of as a side hobby, if you will, And so 4 or 5 years ago, I started doing some of our women's basketball games and some of our baseball games for Richmond. I got to know you and so many others. And I just feel really fortunate, Darrell, to be at a school, be in a community like Richmond, a school like Richmond, where I get to live out these dual loves. I mean, this love of ministry and that calling to the religious life, spiritual life, pastoral life, and teaching, and this really cool thing that I did for so long when I was younger, and for a long time believed it was going to be my life, which was this broadcasting thing. And I've discovered there are a lot of similarities between the two. How do you communicate with people? How do you tell a story? How do you invite people into what's going on? How do you express yourself in a way that people can understand? How do you narrate what you see in front of you? There's a lot of similarities between preaching and ministry and teaching and broadcasting. Honestly, there's a lot of translatable skills. So that's brought me to the present day and getting to know you and getting to work with you. And it's been really special.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, I know from my perspective, like, when we got a chance to do our first broadcast together, one thing, and it's the same thing I told Robin and the same thing I told Blaine. I felt like, when you come in this industry, sometimes you think people will gatekeep and they don't want you to be a part of it. Or you in my mind, I thought going in, because I didn't have the schooling that a lot of people have. I had to try to, create my path another way. School unfortunately wasn't in the cards for me at some point. And I knew I was like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And so for social media, shout out to social media for that one reason. It gave me the opportunity to do what I've always wanted to do, or opportunity to do the things I wanted to do. And so when I met, yourself and Robin and Blaine, I never thought, and Bob, of course, I thought that this would be an industry where it's like, oh, this is so many select jobs and nobody's going to really want to, they're not going to want to help me. And no, it has not been that. That's the one experience I will say being at Richmond has been amazing because everybody is so helpful. Nobody's ever like giving me any weird energy. They've tried to help me along the way, and they don't know how much they help me because I sit and I listen to you guys. I get a chance to listen to you guys, destroy it on the mic every opportunity. And I'm just sitting there listening and soaking it all in. And I'll leave games thinking, I'm like, man, how blessed am I to be able to do this? I mean, when I was 10 years old, I remember saying, I'm going to be on ESPN one day. Well, this is this opportunity got me on the ESPN. And even it may not be, I guess, in some people's eyes, the mainstream ESPN, but no, this means just as much to me as it would if I was on the Sports Center anchor. Like that, the logo's there, and it's been an opportunity that I've cherished. Like I remember the first game I did, I thought I'm gonna say I was gonna cry, but it was just like I was so in shock that this is happening right now. But it's the people that have really made it easy for me. Yourself and the others have been so kind, so amazing. So I appreciate y'all. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. People say, oh, you sucking up. You can say whatever you want. I know what my experience has been, and it's been amazing. It's thanks to you guys. It's been awesome.
Well, you do a great job for one. I mean, it makes it easy when you have such a talented, colleague and friend to work with. But also, I really admire the path you've taken on this, Darrell. I really do. You're creating your own brand. You're creating your own content. You're putting yourself out there. And I just really admire that. And and that kind of effort, it pays off, and you make connections and you develop opportunities, and it pays off. And I think, different from when I was doing those games, when I was in college and graduate school for, at UNC, then, the internet was in its infancy. I mean, we had kind of a radio stream on the internet, but the web portal to get there was so long and convoluted that, people couldn't find it, and it was the technology was hard, and this was pre-social media and all that. And so there weren't many avenues,
Right.
There just weren't many avenues. And now, what you're doing with your work is you're creating avenues, you're creating opportunities, you're creating a brand, you're creating connections. And I really admire that. I think that's the pathway in today's world. That's
like I said, and I appreciate that because, like I said, the biggest thing is having you guys approval. That's been like one of my biggest things. I and knowing that you guys have appreciated that's what's meant the most to me. Like anybody else could say, oh well, no, I said no. I said these guys have shown me so much and have been so kind and have helped me along the way and have taught me little nuances. It's so much that I could go into on that end, but no, it's really appreciated. And that's why I said, like, that's what makes this, industry so amazing. You get to tell the story, you get to, give your opinion, and you get to, give something for the audience to kind of like, soak into. So it wasn't that, there's still times that I'm very critical of myself, but I'll hear people come up and say, hey man, I heard you on the broadcast the other night. That was you guys sounded great. And I'm like, Oh, okay. All right. So I must be doing all right.
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget when what's our girl name? Oh my god, I'm having a flash. But she came over there. Oh, I don't know why I'm having a moment. Number 3. Oh man, she's gonna beat me up for this if I ever our girl, the speed demon on the
Oh,
court.
are you talking about?
Oh, why is it messing with me? I just can't believe it.
Are you talking
Oh,
about Alicia Newell?
Alicia Newell. There you go.
Okay, yeah,
Alicia, please
yeah,
don't beat me up, Alicia.
number 3. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Alicia came to me after one game and she said, this means the world to me." But she came to me after the game and she's like, "I came over to thank you, because my dad told me that he listens to the broadcast and he said you always show me in a positive light, and I truly, truly appreciate it. And my dad told me to say thank you." And I said, "Well, you do the job on the court. I'm just, my style of broadcasting isn't to bring you down,
Right.
it's to pick you up." So, and that's, that made me feel good. But that's when I knew, I said, you guys have helped me get to the right spot. So I'll always be appreciative.
Oh, well, that means so much when a player or a parent, comes. I mean, the way that I think about our role when we're broadcasting those games, we're trying to tell the story of what's happening, and I keep in mind that the people who are watching these games, many of them, some large percentage of them, know these players.
Exactly.
These are family members. These are friends, and for both teams.
Exactly. Exactly.
Broadcasting. We broadcast home games for Richmond, which means we've got a pretty big audience from George Mason or whoever we happen to be playing that night, because those fans and those players couldn't travel and those family members couldn't travel, so they're watching.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's our job to, we need to be, good journalists. If a player, makes a boneheaded mistake, we don't want to just say, "Oh,
she'll be better next time."
Yeah. Say, "Hey, that wasn't a very good pass." But we also remember that we're talking about people's lives. We're talking about people's friendships. We're talking about people's relationships, and we do, I think, want to tell the story of the game in a way that brings out the best in the players and the best in the game, rather than a way that's trying to, knock people off the perch.
Yeah, I think that's the funnest part of it. Like I said, it's been a very, very, very amazing experience. Craig, let's look before we get into quick ones. I wanted to get your thoughts. Coach Russell, who we've been able to see the last couple of years, has now moved on to the University of Virginia, where he'll be taking over. And it's a big move for him, but also a big move for Richmond. Richmond has been on a hot streak the last couple of years. He's built such a really good program here, and new head coach coming into town. And what are your thoughts on the situation itself? Like I said, seeing Coach Russell leave, new coach coming in, taking over, and how they're going to be able to have to try to thrive or keep that energy going for Richmond.
Yeah, well, Coach Russell is a shining star. What he did at Richmond in the 7-8 years he was there, it was when we were really fortunate to be a part of it. I mean, the kind of, in many ways, the golden era of Richmond women's basketball. I mean, especially over the last 3 years, a couple of A10 regular season titles, an A10 tournament title, 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances. It's just remarkable what he did, and the crowd support, and when we were doing those games 5 or 6 years ago, you get 1,000 people there, you feel like, oh, that's a good crowd. But now, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people at these games. So it's remarkable. Congratulations to him. He absolutely deserved it. I think everybody at Richmond understands, hey, if you get a chance to be an ACC coach, head coach, especially at a school like Virginia, which is historically a blue blood in women's college basketball. When I was doing those games back in the 90s and early 2000s, Virginia was an elite women's basketball program. Carolina was too, and I was really fortunate to be a part of an elite women's basketball program during that time. But Virginia was an elite program, and so for Coach Russell to have the opportunity to go and coach there, it makes a ton of sense. For him, it makes a ton of sense for Virginia. And, I'll be a big Cavaliers fan whenever their women's basketball team is playing. I think it's a huge transition for Richmond women's basketball. I feel I've gotten to meet the new head coach of the women's team, Lisa Kresge. Coach Kresge, she comes from the University of Vermont. She was very successful up there.
Yes.
She won 3 conference titles, and she took them to the NCAA tournament. She had an outstanding playing career as well. She was a terrific player. I think she played at Marist. Top of my head, I think she played at Marist, and she was took that team to a Sweet 16. She was Defensive Player of the Year. So she has a terrific pedigree. She is very easy to communicate with. She is very relatable, very personable. I think the players that she recruits to come to Richmond will enjoy playing for her. I think she's a relationally driven person. I think she will fit in well with the University of Richmond culture. It's not it's a pretty small place.
Right.
University of Richmond's 3,000-4,000 students, and people know one another at UR, and I think her relational skills will fit in very well at Richmond. Of course, she's got a high basketball IQ and has had a lot of success. Now, will it be a success from day one at the same level of Coach Russell? I think it would be unrealistic to expect any coach to be able to take over a new program in today's in the day and age of basketball today, where players come and go so often, and
Right.
to pick up immediately where the program left off. She's going to have to put her own DNA on the program. She's going to have to build it in the way that fits her. But I'm confident that she'll be able to, and she's got a good mix, I think, coming up of about half the players on the team are returning, and so they will have an experience of what it's like to play at the level they've been played at. And she's got about half of the team as newcomers, international players, some freshmen who are coming in, some transfers, and I'm really excited to see what she's able to do with the program. The foundation is clearly there.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see. There's like as much as we've gotten used to what the greatness has been over the last couple of years. I'm intrigued to see the next step, and to see what that's going to look like here, in this 2026-2027 season. Like I'm pumped up. I can't wait to get on the sidelines with you, my friend, and make that happen. Now, with that being said, Craig, are you ready for the Craig Kocher edition of Quick Ones here on 101?
Let's do it.
Let's get it. All right, we are ready for quick ones. We get it started with a simple one. But Craig, give me your favorite sports moment of all time. It could be personal, it could be as a fan, it could be a game that you were involved in. But give me your favorite sports moment.
Well, I'll give you a couple that come to mind. When I was a junior in high school at Chapel Hill High School, this was 1993, and the UNC men's basketball team beat Michigan in the famous Chris Webber timeout. And I had been a Carolina fan my whole life. I had missed the Michael Jordan era, and I knew of that 1982 national championship, but that 1993 national championship was a really big deal. And I went to Carmichael Auditorium with my friends, and we watched it on the screen, and then we went down to Franklin Street afterwards. And so that comes to mind as probably maybe my favorite sports highlight of all time.
That's awesome. That's just a pretty solid highlight. I remember as a kid watching that game, thinking, "What were you thinking, Chris Webber?" But hey, look, a dub for UNC is a dub for UNC. Next one, worst sports moment that you've experienced.
So I'll tell you a hard one. I was this is from my broadcasting days at Carolina. So I was broadcasting Carolina women's basketball team, the radio play-by-play for that team. And in 1998, we had a great team. We had won the ACC tournament, won the ACC regular season, won the ACC tournament, got the second seed in I think it was in the East Regional, and went to the Final Eight, and we had to play Tennessee during the height of the Pat Summitt years in Nashville. And so it was like, okay, it was in Knoxville, but it might as well have been. I mean, it was a home crowd for Tennessee, and it was an Elite Eight game. So the winner was going to the Final Four. And Carolina had a 12-point lead with 8 minutes left in that game.
Oh no!
And Tennessee kind of turned on the full court press, and we had a freshman point guard who just struggled with that press, and the Volunteers came back and ended up winning the game at the end, and that was pretty devastating.
Yeah.
And then they went on to win the national championship that year, and it felt like. That was maybe the national championship game, because in the Final Four, nobody tested them. They got to the Final Four and they just breezed through.
Oh man!
So that hurt. That was a very difficult. But that's, as they say, that's just part of it.
Sports.
That's just part of it. There were incredibly great moments with those years too, and more good moments than bad ones. But that was a really hard. That was a tough loss.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I'm pretty sure it was. I couldn't. Oh yeah, I probably would have cried after that one. Next one. Who's your favorite athlete of all time?
I had so many, but the person who's immediately popping into my mind is Cal Ripken Jr.
So really, that's a good pick.
I some of that comes from my dad. Baseball was maybe his first love. I loved baseball too growing up, and still love it. Played baseball growing up, and we had lived in Bethesda, Maryland for just a couple of years before we moved to Chapel Hill and become kind of Orioles fans up there, and that was the height of the Ripken era. And I remember watching in, I guess it was 1991, when he broke that Ironman streak of consecutive games played, 2,000 whatever games played. And I remember watching that night, and he was running around Camden Yards and that. So I just sort of a great admiration for his all the sort of character of, you play the game the right way, and you play even when you're not feeling like it, and even when he won a World Series as a rookie, but then had some years where Baltimore was terrible, and yet he continued to play through that, I think sort of it was an example, I think, of you just do your job. You just do your job, and you do it over the long haul. So
and it's crazy because you look at that record now. Was it DiMaggio or Lou Gehrig had the record initially? If I'm
That's right.
mistaken.
Yeah, it was.
So Lou Gehrig had the record initially. So you got to think about the time frame. It's almost 60 years plus between the time frame that he broke it. If I bet money, if we went to go look now, there's nobody nowhere near, especially in the way today's athlete is. They'll take days off easily. Not waste management, but time management. But and use time management. I'm pretty sure there's nobody that's close. There may be somebody who may be like a couple hundred in. I just can't see it. I'm gonna definitely look it up after this episode is over. Sport did you secretly love?
What's coming to my mind is tennis. I played a little bit growing up, but was never very good at it. And I just admire. I was watching some of Wimbledon, and I just admire those athletes. They are, whether it's on the men's side or the women's side, they are so athletic and so conditioned, and it's that combination of athleticism and hand-eye coordination and whether it's doubles or singles. At that level, singles gets most of the publicity. I admire tennis players, and I think it's a great sport.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, I watched it a lot as a kid because it was Sanford, it was Agassi,
Mhm.
it was those guys, even Andy Roddick for a little while, the Federers. I feel like for me personally, like the last 10 years, it fell off for me. I don't
Yeah.
watch it as much as I used to or pay much attention to it because I don't know any of the names,
Right.
and when on the women's side, Serena had been there since I was a kid. So it was easy okay, you got Serena. I feel like the women's game for me is probably a little bit more recognizable than the men's game at the moment. I know they got the young man that's from DC, but I don't know. Like, off top hand, I can't think of his name. I think it's like Francis Noir, but I'm destroying that. So yeah, tennis is a good one. I just haven't personally. I wish I've had maybe paid more attention to it the last 10 years on the men's side. Anyway, last one on quick ones before we head to our last segment. You are putting on a concert, sir. You get to pick 4 artists to go to this concert. Any genre, doesn't matter. You get your opener, your 2 people in the middle, and the closer. Who are the 4 artists?
What a question!
Who are the 4 artists?
That's a great question.
Yes.
So I'll be dating myself with all of these.
That's fine. Date away, my friend.
the first concert I ever went to, and this was a good one. People say, "What was your first concert?" Well, my first concert was a good one. I saw Whitney Houston in concert in Chapel Hill at the Smith Center when I was about 12. And that was pretty cool. So I'll go with her as the opener. Then maybe I'd go with a couple of kind of classic rock bands. I'd go with Bruce Springsteen, who I love Bruce Springsteen and always have. Then how about if I throw in more of a band? So let's go with the Eagles.
Okay.
Dating myself about
Hotel California in the building. Let's go. Come on.
Classic rock era. And then maybe I finish with something in a different genre. I also like kind of sort of more of a kind of folk music, kind of a little bit more of that direction. So maybe I'll finish with Tom Petty.
Okay, and with the Heartbreakers. Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit more, a little less. I mean, he's a rock, but a little less rock than Bruce Springsteen.
I mean, I can deal with Tom Petty. Tom Petty headlined the Super Bowl a couple years back, so hey, Tom Petty. It's a solid list, sir. It's a very solid list. That's a really good list.
And if you ask me, like today's era, I couldn't tell you, Darrell. Both of my kids are Swifties. I know that, and so
I don't know.
I'm getting, a lot of lessons about Taylor Swift through my daughters, but beyond that,
I don't know any. It's sad because it's like a Taylor Swift song, but you don't know a Taylor Swift song. That's where I'm at. Like, we've heard them probably a million times at the games. I'm like, who is that? Oh, that's Taylor Swift. Oh, I had no clue. Yeah. That's how it is for me. And I'm like, I don't know anybody anybody that I truly like. Oh, I got to go listen to that artist today. Like, a lot of my stuff is early 2000s and lower. So, Temptations, Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross. That's my era, that I love to listen to. Early 90s R&B. Yeah, I don't know. Some of this stuff now, I'm like, no, I think I'm going to pass. I think I'm good. I think I'll pass. All right, everybody. That was it for the Craig Kocher edition of Quick Ones. And now, before we go, it is time for Craig to leave his legacy. All right, Craig, look, man, we truly, truly appreciate you for joining us for this episode 209 here of One-on-One. And before we go, my friend, we want to kind of know from you, when it's all said and done, when you can sit back and relax and say, all right, I'm hanging up the mic for good. I'm going to sit back and relax and enjoy retirement with my family. What do you want people to say about you on a professional level, as a broadcaster, as a school chaplain, and so on in the ministry? Where do you want your place to be?
That's a big question. Probably one we should all give some thought to from time to time. So I've been the university chaplain at Richmond now for 17, 18 years. And
wow.
I hope I'll be here for, maybe the rest of my career. And I think if at the end of that time, I hope, people will know that I really loved the school and its people. I really loved and cared about the students who came to study here and to learn here and to grow here spiritually and otherwise. And that I tried my very best to be there for them, to be there for those students when they needed me in whatever way that I could be there for them, and that the university would there would be a sort of remembrance of, gosh, we were fortunate to have him as our chaplain for those years, that he did a really good job at Richmond. So I think of that as the kind of that primary professional angle. And then maybe people will also remember, hey, and didn't that guy also broadcast some games?
He did. He did.
And you know what? I like tuning into those women's basketball games when he and Darrell were broadcasting those games. And he always brought a positive spirit to the game, a positive attitude to the mic, that he wanted to tell the story in a way that really brought the game to life for the viewers and for the listeners, and that he really seemed to enjoy what he was doing and with the people that he was doing with, and wanted those of us who were watching to enjoy it as well, while delivering a really top quality professional broadcast.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I probably couldn't have said it better myself, my friend. I think that's kind of the lines I think if I always tell people in this segment, people leave really good advice without leaving advice during this segment, which is nice. I mean, the biggest thing is you always want to leave the world in a better place than you left it. You want to let people know, it's like, man, this guy motivated me to be a better person. That thing, that's kind of for me. Like, I was like, man, that guy made me want to take that next step, and be a good person, or do great things. And I think that's all you want. That's part of what you want in this lifetime, man, is to leave good positive thoughts, and people say, you know what, he's a really good guy. Yeah, you don't want the OJ treatment when it's like, OJ, what can I say about OJ? You don't want that, so as long as you can be like, all right, this guy did a really good job, shout out to him. You just don't want that treatment. Anything but that.
Yeah. Let's go with that. I like that.
There you go. Oh man, look, man. Well, once again, Craig, we appreciate you for coming on. It has been an absolute fun time here. Before we leave, I got to tell you about who we got coming on next week, ladies and gentlemen. My man, Chris Kocher, professional comedian, stand-up comedian, is going to be joining me. He's had a couple of comedy specials out there. He's been on Conan O'Brien and so on and so on. And he's going to be on with us next week. So get ready to laugh. Get ready to hear some great jokes. Your boy can't tell any jokes, but Chris is going to be on here, and we're going to have a really good time. Me and him are also on a fantasy league together, fantasy football league, which is so funny how that story kind of all came together, how we all joined up on a fantasy horizon there. But we'll get a chance to get into all of that, and we and talk about his career next week. Once again, Craig, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for being a part of this.
Darrell, I appreciate you too. Thanks for having me. It's so good to be with you like this. And I think your next segment is going to be more entertaining. Having a comedian on that. Well done. Well done.
There you go.
I'm going to tune in. But this has been awesome, Darrell. And if I don't see you beforehand, I look forward to seeing you when basketball season rolls around.
Same here, brother. I can't wait. Once again, everybody, thank y'all all for tuning in. Episode 209 is in the book. We'll be back next week for 210. Until next time, y'all be safe out there. And until then, be safe.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101.